Welcome to my DIY portable cabin with a twist. As you can see, it has a transparent roof, great for stargazing at night or letting in natural light during the day and heating during the wintertime. Much in the same way that a greenhouse uses the sun's energy to heat itself during the winter. Thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring today's episode. I'll be talking a little more about them at the end of this episode. Last year, my dad and I challenged ourselves to design and construct a prefab cabin that was easy to transport, easy to construct, and fairly inexpensive to build. Something that we could set up for the winter, then dismantle in the spring and move to another location the following year. We dubbed it the pop-up cabin, and we were pleased with how well it turned out. According to plan, we dismantled it in the spring, and today we are moving it to its new winter location. Earlier this season, I constructed a level base in this clearing in preparation for the arrival of the cabin. Now all we had to do was put it back together.
Once we get started this, it should go pretty quickly on the walls.
Yeah, I'm hoping. Since I've already shown how this cabin fits together in a previous episode, I'll only show a brief overview of how we built it this time around. But if you'd like to see the episode showing the full construction, I'll be sure to leave a link in the description below.
This one's gotta be it.
As the walls are slotted together, they appear a little wobbly, but once we fasten the vertical supports in place, the walls will become much more solid. In fact, my dad and I had no problem walking on top of the walls, which you'll see later on in this episode. When we dismantled the cabin last winter, we meticulously cataloged every piece so that we would know exactly how to put it back together again.
And then I know you put in angle braces.
You see it?
Yet.
Yeah, it'll be.
I think it's on the, oh there. Back your way about 2.5, 3 inches. More. More. Another, whoa, perfect. Okay. Touch more. Okay. Whoa, that's good.
By the way, if you're interested in purchasing the pop-up cabin plans to download, I'll be sure to leave a link in the description below. Anyway, next came the roofing.
Oh, even before. Oh, no, I get.
Last year, I used a tarp to cover the pop-up cabin's roof. This time, I'll be using clear plexiglass roofing.
Now. Okay, if we can get it down. Okay, I got the 2-inch here. Yeah, I have some.
Even though the plexiglass roof will provide a fair amount of heat for the cabin during sunny winter days, we will still need to use a wood stove during the dark nights and on cloudy days.
I have to move a bit to the right, actually.
Now to add the finishing touches, which involves building the shelves, installing the lighting, and making the bed. As I mentioned before, there are several benefits to having a transparent roof. Just imagine lying in bed at night and being able to look straight up into the stars while still within the sheltered warmth of your cabin. Or to not only hear the pitter-patter of rain above, but to actually see the raindrops hitting the roof and rolling off. Not to mention how spectacular a lightning storm or snowstorm would look from the comfort of the cabin's interior. The clear roofing will also let in loads of natural light. Finally, I should talk about the roof's greatest strength, which also happens to be its strongest weakness. Just like a greenhouse, it will naturally trap heat from sunlight. This is great news during the winter time, but bad news during the summer. Fortunately, I only intend to use this pop-up cabin during the winter time anyway. Now, if I do decide to leave the cabin up the following summer, I could remedy the problem by draping a tarp over the plexiglass, preventing the sunlight from passing through and overheating the cabin. As the sun melted into thin golden bands upon the horizon, I settled in for the evening. The warmth of the clear-roofed cabin was further contrasted and accentuated by the deepening darkness. One of my main reasons for building this cabin in the first place was so that I could have my wife and daughter closer to me while I work on the main cabin. I wanted to provide them with a place that is warm and comfortable, but also inspires my daughter's love for the great outdoors. I believe the addition of the plexiglass roof and even the LED stars will help to do that. Ultimately, I view this cabin as a vessel, my family being the treasure it was built to house. Well, the winter outpost is set up and ready to go. It's a little bit early yet, but we wanted to build it before the snow came because it's a lot easier to do so. So now it's here for when the snow comes, and it'll be ready whenever we need it. When that time comes, I'm really excited to see how this greenhouse heating system is going to work out. I'm curious to see how well it will heat this space, strictly using the passive heating system as the solar energy passes through the plexiglass. But of course, on cloudy days and during the night, I'm going to need to rely on the wood stove to continue to heat the cabin, which isn't a problem because this is a big stove. It's capable of heating a space much larger than what's in here. And last year we had a tarp over our heads, and this stove was more than enough to keep us warm and toasty. In fact, we had to keep the damper all the way down, and we had to burn the fire really low so that we didn't heat ourselves out of here. So this stove is more than capable of heating this space, even with the horrible R value that this plexiglass has. So there's no problems there. But the good news is that on a sunny winter day, I might not even have to use wood at all in the stove, which will save me firewood in the long run. Now, this cabin is really well ventilated. Up above the walls here and between the rafters, I've left it open, so I can actually reach out here outside the cabin just because I didn't close up the space between the rafters. So there's lots of fresh air intake coming in from both sides of the cabin, and as well at the peaks of the gables, I have it open there so air can escape from there as well. So lots of fresh air intake, and there's a place for the air to leave. Which is great because when the stove is burning hot during the winter, it's nice to have that fresh, cool air coming in as well. Now, of course, during the summertime, having all these openings isn't the best because bugs can get in very easily, especially on a dark night like this, as I have this whole cabin lit up. It's kind of like a homing beacon for insects. So during the summertime, I might want to put some screening there or whatever, but as for the wintertime, it's fine. Although there are a lot of benefits to using a transparent roof, especially in my situation, there are a lot of drawbacks as well, which is why you normally don't see glass roofs or plexiglass roofs on most buildings. Of course, the main one is that during the summertime, any building with a see-through roof, especially a plexiglass one like this, would get extremely hot, so that's a huge downside. As well, as far as plexiglass goes, this stuff isn't strong material. So if you're in a forest and you've got some big, heavy hardwood trees over top, it's not really the safest either because a branch could break off and it would just punch right through the roof. So that's a safety issue. Where I am right now, I'm in a softwood forest. I'm spaced away from trees and there aren't any branches hanging over the cabin. So for me, it's not really that big of a concern. Well, that's enough talking for now. I think it's time that I give you the cabin tour, but considering the size of this space, I think it's going to be a fairly quick tour. Over here in the kitchen, I have my wood stove, which is used for heating and cooking. And if you join me in the living room, I have my guitar and my library all set up. And I've got a couple of deer antlers here and over there, which I found as I walked through the bush. And this is my logging pulley, which I still use to this day. But it also looks nice as a decoration, so that's why I put it there. This is my bed, obviously, and that's everything for this side of the house. We are now in the lobby. This is the entrance with a handcrafted latch, which comes in pretty handy. And then over here at the foot of the bed, we have the window, and I used a couple sheets of shower curtain and stapled them behind this frame that I fastened to the wall. So it is a double paned shower curtain window. So pretty cheap, but probably fairly efficient. And over here is the cabin's power source. This is how I light most of the cabin. It's a 1,000 watt-hour lithium power pack, so it can go for quite a while. And I have 2 extension cords plugged in, which I've run neatly up the gable, and it's powering this lamp as well as this one here. And this is true love, because my wife actually let me borrow a couple of her favorite lamps from home. And these are actually like desk lamps, but I fastened them to the ridge pole up top and dangled them. And they look pretty good in here, so maybe I'll get to keep them here for the winter, but it's pretty amazing that my wife actually let me borrow them even for this amount of time. So I'm taking good care of them, sweetheart, I promise. But they look great in here, don't they? And now we've come to my favorite feature of this cabin, and that's the starry sky that I've added with these LED light strips. So I'm going to turn out the lamps right now to give you a better look.
Thanks again to Squarespace for sponsoring today's episode and helping to support this channel. Squarespace gives people a powerful and beautiful online platform from which to create your website. Squarespace has powerful blogging tools to tell your story, share your updates, and post photos and videos. Stand out in any inbox with Squarespace email campaigns. Squarespace can authenticate your social profiles, letting you auto-post your content to Twitter, Facebook, or Tumblr, helping you to grow your social following. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/theoutsider to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Anyway, that's it for now. Until next time, my friends, stay safe, be well, and God bless.